My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
You've heard that line 1,000 times. It's quoted in graduation speeches, memes, parodies, and tattoos. But what if I told you Forrest Gump, one of the most beloved movies of all time, was never supposed to work? A movie with a simple-minded protagonist, a plot that spans decades, CGI presidents, Elvis, Vietnam, and a shrimp? All wrapped up in a feather floating in the wind? Hollywood didn't believe in it. Critics were skeptical, and even Tom Hanks wasn't entirely sold. But Forrest Gump didn't just survive. It became a cultural juggernaut. This is how it beat the odds, and why it became iconic. So let's rewind. The source material was a 1986 novel by Winston Groom, Forrest Gump. It was a satire, far more crass than the movie. In the book, Forrest swears, becomes an astronaut, and even wrestles a gorilla. It was absurd, strange, and niche. Definitely not a bestseller. Producers Wendy Feinerman and Steve Tisch bought the rights anyway, gambling on his quirky charm. Most studios passed. Why? Because the script was a logistical nightmare. Time jumping across 30 years of American history, military battles, presidents, that's expensive. And who wants to bet on a main character who isn't traditionally smart? And then came Eric Roth. His screenplay took the chaos of the book and turned it into something poetic. He removed most of the satire and replaced it with something rare in Hollywood: sincerity. Still, sincerity doesn't sell itself, not in the age of Pulp Fiction, Clerks, and Natural Born Killers, where edge and irony ruled. Enter Tom Hanks. He was already a major star. Philadelphia, Sleepless in Seattle, big. But Forrest Gump was a risk. Playing a slow, naive man across 30 years, it could come off as corny, or worse, offensive. But Hanks saw the heart in it. He agreed to play Forrest, but with one very important condition. The character would not be made the butt of the joke. Forrest must be earnest, never mocking or cynical, and the filmmakers agreed. But there was one more hurdle: money. The budget ballooned to $55 million, massive for the time, and Paramount freaked out. So Hanks and the director Robert Zemeckis made a radical choice. They gave up part of their salaries in exchange for percentage points on the back end, meaning they only made money if the movie made money. It was a huge gamble. Spoiler, it paid off. Director Robert Zemeckis had just done Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, movies full of technical wizardry, and he brought that same magic to Forrest Gump. Using that groundbreaking CGI, Forrest Gump was inserted into real historical footage, shaking hands with JFK, standing next to George Wallace, teaching Elvis to dance. For 1994, this was cutting-edge stuff, and Zemeckis didn't just use effects for spectacle, he used them for emotion. Because Forrest wasn't changing history, history was changing around him. He's a feather in the wind, just passing through. That metaphor became literal in the film's opening and closing shots. You'd think a movie like this would be universally adored, right? Wrong. Critics were actually split on Forrest Gump when it was released. Some, like Roger Ebert, praised it as a brilliant emotional effort. Others called it manipulative, sentimental. Some said it glorified ignorance. It was overly simplistic or politically dodgy. But the audience didn't care. Theaters sold out. People saw it 3, 4, 5 times. It hit a nerve because Forrest Gump wasn't trying to be clever. It was trying to be kind. So the truth is, Forrest Gump works because it does something that almost no modern film dares to do. It wears its heart on its sleeve. Forrest is an anchor in a world of chaos. While the world is burning through assassinations, war, drugs, AIDS, and a heartbreak, Forrest just keeps running, loving, listening, trying. He's not a symbol of ignorance. He's a symbol of goodness. It's not a movie about a dumb guy getting lucky. It's a movie about a pure soul surviving a cynical world without losing himself. And that's the fantasy audiences wanted, and maybe still do. One of the most misunderstood characters in film history is Jenny. People love to hate her. She only came back when she was dying, but that's shallow. Jenny is a trauma survivor, abused by her father, running from pain her whole life. Her story is a parallel to Forrest, but while he accepts life, she resists it. Their relationship isn't about fairness, it's about unconditional love. Forrest never judges Jenny. He never resents her, he just loves her, even when it hurts, and that's what makes it tragic and beautiful. She's not a villain, she's a mirror. Then there's the ending. Forrest at Jenny's grave, talking to her, choking back tears. It's the most human moment in the film. No music, no spectacle, just Tom Hanks talking to a headstone. And it destroys people. Because after all the madness, the wars, the presidents, the shrimp boats, it comes down to one man mourning the only woman he ever loved, trying to explain the world to their son. It's quiet, it's devastating, it's perfect. Forrest Gump made $678 million worldwide, a monster hit. It won 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It beat Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption, 2 all-time greats in a stacked year, and yet it remains divisive. Is it the best movie ever? No. But is it one of the most emotionally resonant movies ever? Absolutely. Because it didn't try to be cool or edgy, it just tried to be honest. So why does Forrest Gump still matter? Because we live in a world where snark and sarcasm are everywhere, where earnestness is rare, and stories are often cynical or self-aware to a fault. But Forrest Gump doesn't wink at the camera. It just stares at the world with wide eyes, says what it means, and hopes for the best. In other words, it's a miracle this movie exists. And maybe that's the point. Forrest Gump beat the odds because it believed in something Hollywood often forgets. Heart. Not spectacle, not irony, not shock value. Just heart. And that's why it's iconic. If you like this breakdown, subscribe for more deep dives on iconic films. The underdogs, the misunderstood, and the ones that change everything. Thanks for watching.
Think I'll go home now.